person you need is Nanny McPhee.
Hello.
Eliza?
Yes.
Welcome to From Early.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here.
This has been in the making for a while.
I know it has. We've been talking about this for a minute.
Yeah.
The last time I saw you, I was 6 and you were 12.
Yes.
And we did Nanny McPhee together.
We did.
Now, a lot of people on my TikTok say that being in Nanny McPhee is my only personality trait.
Savage.
It might be all I talk about. But really the reason that I made this series is because I think starting a career as a child is a really unique experience.
Yeah.
And I think that there's quite a lot to learn from that. So I wanted to sit down and talk with other people who have done the same thing. Can you tell me, maybe to start, did you always want to be an actress?
Yes. I was like that annoying kid that, like, if I was like 5 and having like a cry and my mum would like pick me up, I'd like look in the mirror on the way out to make sure my tears look good. But yeah, even at like 6, 7 in school, my teacher like took my mum aside and was like, I think she like loves performing and acting, like maybe you want to put her in something. And then this makes me sound really old, but there was the newspaper, The Stage, which had open auditions in it.
Okay.
So my mum used to get The Stage newspaper, and then that's when we found open auditions for, my first audition was Les Mis on the West End, and I didn't get it. But, and I
Still hurt about that one.
I got a call back, then I didn't get it, and I wept, and I was like, that's my only chance. That was my shot at this. And then oh God, I know I'm coming across as the most obnoxious
No,
child.
I had the same thing.
Yeah, exactly.
I had the same thing, it's fine.
And then I did Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, which was my first ever. And I think my parents were like, she'll probably never ever do this again. Let's let her have this experience.
Wow, really, you think?
Yeah, well, just when you come from like a normal town where no one you know is an actor, you just think like, well, this will never actually happen in real life. So let's let her, pursue the things that she's enjoying, and then she'll then go and get a normal job.
But then it didn't stop, did it?
No, because I loved it so much. I mean, I had real pockets of like unemployment. That transition from kid to adult is rough.
It's weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because they either want you to play like 10 or
Yeah.
29.
Yeah. And I know this is what we were talking about, that there's these articles of like, the kids in Nanny McPhee, where are they now? Or I had an article, I think it was probably The Sun or something horrible like that, which was child actress Eliza Bennett really grows up. And there was a photo of me in my underwear, which is
yeah,
so
I had the same,
gross.
but it was just a picture of me in my bra. It's a bit weird.
Sexualizing
Yeah.
you as a kid, which I think a lot of child actors have had those. I watch people that are much more famous than me as a kid, and I feel so sorry for them, of like, her 18th birthday is this date. And you're like, that's disgusting. Disgusting. Go and look at
scary.
yourself in the mirror.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's weird. But yeah, I always wanted to do it, and I've always loved it, and I still love it.
So you're from Reading?
Yes.
Where you said not many people were pursuing acting professionally as a career.
So we got Ricky Gervais and Kate Winslet, which is a pretty good,
cool.
pretty good combo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then eventually you moved to LA, where
Yes.
everyone's an actor.
Yeah,
How old were
unfortunately.
you when you moved to LA?
I think I was back and forth a long time, like doing auditions and stuff, and I built a community there that I really loved. And then I did this show called Sweet Vicious. And that year that I was there, I was more in LA than I was in England. And my husband, who was my fiance at the time, we were doing so much long distance. And it was looking like I was going to have to be there more and more. And then we were like, we just don't want to be apart this much. Should we just like, be crazy and just do it and move? And then we did. I still love England, so I feel like I am kind of between the two.
But I feel like there's a really big dream when you're from the UK of like moving to LA, you step off the plane, you get cast in the film, everything,
That
you're a
didn't
waitress
happen.
for like a month, and then like someone comes in and they go, you're a star.
I know.
What was it actually like compared to kind of like the idea that people have of it?
The reality was that I would be sat in waiting rooms of casting offices with 10 other girls that looked exactly like me, that I felt were much hotter. I got nothing, and my agent dropped me. I like had a really savage experience. At the
Wow,
beginning.
what did you do after that?
Cried and came back to England, and just was unemployed for a while. And then I feel like as I started to look more like an adult, because my face looked young for so long, but I'd hit puberty, so you're kind of in this weird like 12-year-old face with boobs, and people don't know what to do with it. So eventually I started to look more like an adult, and then I kind of worked my way back up by doing like episodes on TV shows, and I kind of had to earn my stripes again, which has probably made me a better human being than if it was just all handed to me on a plate. There was a period of time where I really, really wasn't working, and I went back and worked in a restaurant, and I remember being...
When was that?
When I was after Sweet Vicious.
Wow.
And people never really believe it.
But that was a big show.
It was, and I was the lead, yeah.
Wow.
And I went back and I worked at a restaurant, which is one of my favorite restaurants in LA, shout out Black Market Liquor Bar. I had times where I was serving the people that used to employ me, and I would go and cry in the bathroom, and then I'd come back out and serve them the fried chicken or meatballs or whatever. And it was brutal, but I have really beautiful memories of that time as well. And it really is just the reality of the industry, is it ebbs and flows. And I think in some ways I'm so grateful that I didn't have like this level of success permanently through the whole time, because I just cannot comprehend how I would have kept like the foundation of who I am. Or insecurity is good for you if you can come to the other side of it and then start to believe in yourself, you know, by yourself, without just from having accolades and success. So
have you ever felt like just giving it all up?
No. There is a point where you're unemployed for long enough that people in your life start to be like, so what's the plan? Every family reunion, every wedding. So what are you doing? And you can't give them the answer that they want. And I've even had like where I have had a job and then people are like, well, so who's in it? I'm like, oh, all these great actors, but you know, it's not. And they're like, so Meryl Streep's not in it? So you haven't worked with Meryl Streep? I was like, no, not many people have. I may have my whole career and I may not achieve this. I'm so sorry, I'm going to disappoint you. But also Meryl, if you're watching, I'd love to work with you.
Yeah, wouldn't we all? Hello, Meryl.
Hi, Meryl.
I feel like what we were talking about with the transition from being a child actor to an adult actor is super weird. And I think people either go through it or they don't.
I felt the pressure to work. For
Did
sure.
you?
Yeah, like I because I wanted to. I didn't really want to be in school.
Yeah.
I had a good school experience, but those last 2 years, like 16, 17, 18, when I was doing my A-levels, I really disconnected like emotionally from school. And
I had a similar thing.
I just was really sad those last 2 years, and I barely worked. Because when they're casting 17, they're casting 21-year-olds because you don't want to actually watch a 17-year-old make out with someone because they look 12.
Yeah.
There was a period of time where I got close to a lot of jobs. I got down to the last 2 or 3, and they were all that sort of like, they were going to have to be sexual for the first time, or like me falling or having sex for the first time. And I just wasn't ready, like emotionally, to be doing scenes like that. And then I would do chemistry reads with boys that were maybe like 21, 22.
And you were how old?
And I was 16 or 17, and I never got them. And now I look back on it and I think, oh my goodness, I was so uncomfortable in my own skin. I think I had a pretty good experience, but I can't even imagine what some people experienced at that age. Pre-Me Too, where people are less aware, where there's no intimacy coordinators. Yeah,
exactly. They have intimacy coordinators now.
Yeah, this is my first job with an intimacy
You're working with
coordinator.
them. What is that like?
It's just choreographed. It makes it like a stunt, and then everyone feels safe.
And before, did they just genuinely just say, right, let's go?
You would do it with a director who was normally a 50-year-old bloke in a room with 15 men, and they would choreograph it, and I'd be there as a 22-year-old. And a lot of the time they'd be like, you'll tell me when you're not comfortable, right? And the problem is like that question's really dangerous because the answer is no. Most of the time people don't tell you when they're not comfortable. So I think like the intimacy coordinators is like a great direction to be going in.
I also think that working from a young age, even if you're like working in retail, you get a Saturday job, you're working in a restaurant, I think it teaches you a lot of things. For me, I think it made me really confident, especially being a kid. Most of the time you're on set with a bunch of adults.
Yeah.
And I think it made me really able to speak to anybody, no matter what age they
Yeah.
are. What do you think the biggest takeaways from how you experienced it in your childhood to now, like how it impacted you as an adult?
I totally agree that there is a comfort with adults. I think it was hard going back to school. I don't know whether you felt this way, because like you felt like on sort of equal footing with adults when you're filming.
Yeah.
And then you go back to school and they're like then authority. And I was like, no, we can be friends. And they're like, no, you have detention. Like, stop talking to me.
I'm making a cup of tea.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there is like a comfort around adults and about being able to talk. I mean, Nanny McPhee was interesting though, because it was the only film I did that had so many kids.
Me too. The only other thing I did was Tracy Beaker, and that also had a lot of
Oh my God,
kids.
even more.
Then everything else I did afterwards was just adults. And I was
Right.
like, where's all the children?
It's a different vibe as well, because Nanny McPhee, they had like a playroom which had like PlayStations
Yeah,
and
we had
toys.
a juice bar.
and
Do you remember the juice bar?
And then like we had ice cream trucks come to work every day, and like, so I was like, this is what filming's like. And then my next job, I was like, where's the ice cream? How much do you remember? Because you were 6. Because even at 12, like it's like I remember it, and I remember the feeling, and I remember certain memories. I remember days, like I remember when we went to the farm to meet all the animals, which was my birthday. Do you remember that?
Was it on your birthday?
Yeah, and I remember Emma Thompson bought me like a dress from like whistles or something, which was like so expensive. I was like, oh my gosh, this dress is like 70 pounds. I was like, this is so expensive. And they tried to get us all to bond over the
Yeah, I
pigs
remember the
and the
bonding
chickens
days.
and
That was
whatever.
a cute day.
I do remember that you and I had like a bond. I feel like.
Oh my God, I was obsessed with you. I was obsessed with you.
I
My
felt like
mum
I was
always
the
says
boring
that.
kid, 'cause,
no,
you know, I was
you were
like
the
the-
cool older girl, and I was like, Mum, why so nice? Like, you know when you're young and like there's a cool older girl, and you're like, oh my God, I want her to love me.
And I was 12, like the
Yeah.
least cool age
But
possible.
you were so cool to me. Let's talk about Dynasty.
Yeah, whichever way.
Obviously, everything you've done is so exciting, but I feel like when you're an actress, it's like a dream to be in like the hit American TV series. What was it like?
It's funny because Dynasty is a much bigger show outside of America.
Really?
You know, it's like how Americans love Downton Abbey.
Yeah.
I feel like the rest of the world is like, loves Dynasty for that reason. But yeah, I mean, it was great. It was my first job out of COVID, so I was desperate to work and have some stability because I hadn't worked.
Yeah.
It was a lot of makeup every day. Like, it was like full glam at like 6 a.m.
That's
every
so
morning.
fun.
Yeah, it was. And I worked with an amazing costume designer and my makeup girl, Liz, was amazing. So it was great. I love
But
it.
you had your own accent in that.
Yes, and I hadn't played English in about 6
Yeah.
years, so it was really nice to be able to be English.
Can you maybe, okay,
God.
let's do some training.
I know what you're about to ask.
Let's do some training, because my American accent is really bad.
Yeah,
I
haven't done an American accent
I did
in
one
ages.
American audition when I was younger, and they were like, no way, you're going to get this part. I can do like...
But it takes, I did vocal coaching on it for like years when I was younger.
Right, give me some.
Oh God, no,
Give me
that's
some.
like the worst thing to ask.
You can do it.
Sweet Vicious, I'm American, you can watch that.
Okay.
I mean, the job I'm doing right now, I've got to do like a 90s East London accent.
Oh, wow, how does that go?
It's just like a little bit like rough around the edges.
Oh, see, you're a natural, babe.
But I had a dialect coach.
I thought you were about to go into American then, because I
No.
had a,
Well, the problem is that when I first came back to England to do this job, Sexy Beast, I had a little bit of an American twang, and being here for 6 months has really got my own voice back again. But it's the beginning sentences that I find I slip most. You know, like you kind of like change your voice to make people feel comfortable,
Yeah.
or you start to sound like them. I think sometimes I do it when I first am like, hi, how are you? And then I'm like, oh, I mean, hello, good evening, my good sir. Right, it's been nice to get my accent
Should we
back.
do a test? Should I try and say something?
Yeah, I would
What
like
should
to
I
hear you
say?
say. You should introduce your the show.
Okay. Hi, and welcome to From Early.
It's not that bad.
It's so bad.
No, that could be.
I hate it.
That's not that bad. I was expecting you to be like, "Hey, welcome from early."
Just like I just go very like it's
Kardashian.
Like, it's like
I'm dead. Stop.
oh my God.
What do they call it? The rasp, the croak, or whatever. That
don't
they have.
know.
Like when you're like, "Oh my God, I'm dead. I can't believe it. You're so stupid."
Dab, I'm screaming.
It's not as bad as you think it is.
How should we say goodbye? Maybe we should have a ball hug.
Let's have a cuddle under here.
Okay.
This is not comfortable.